Hi guys, my name's Nadine. Welcome to my channel. So a while back I showed you the cozy mysteries that are on my shelf that I have yet to get to, and I told you that I would show you the books that are on my wish list. So this is the first chance I've had to do that. I've been really looking forward to it and also slightly dreading it because I try not to look at my wish list too often because I tend to buy things. But if you've seen my autumn TBR bookshelf video, you will completely understand why I am trying my hardest not to buy any more books at the moment, because I get carried away. I have too many. I need to get through some of these. That being said, there is a lot on my wish list, especially my cozy mysteries. So yeah, this will be in a couple of parts. So grab a beverage. I have a coffee here, which is unusual for me. I'm normally a tea drinker, but we have a lot to get through. So what I'm going to do is I will tell you the series. I will read the synopsis of the first book in the series and show you the gorgeous covers, and we will together lust after them and not buy. You can buy. I can't. I mustn't. So first of all then, I have 10 to share with you in this video. The first one is the Tourist Trap mystery series by Lynn Cahoon. Now there are 17 books in this series currently. I don't know with any of these if they're finished or not, but yes, 17 if I enjoy the first one to get to. And the first one is called Guidebook to Murder. So it says, in the gentle coastal town of South Cove, California, all Jill Gardner wants is to keep her store, coffee, books and more, open and running. So why is she caught up in the business of murder? When Jill's elderly friend, Miss Emily, calls in a fit of pique, she already knows the city council is trying to force Emily to sell her dilapidated old house. But Emily's gumption goes for naught when she dies unexpectedly and leaves the house to Jill, along with all of her problems and her enemies. Convinced her friend was murdered, Jill is finding the list of suspects longer than the list of repairs needed on the house. But Jill is determined to uncover the culprit, especially if it gets her closer to South Cove's finest, Detective Greg King. Problem is, the killer knows she's on the case and is determined to close the book on Jill permanently. So this sounds ideal. It sounds like a lovely setting. It's got coffee, books and more. Yeah, it sounds brilliant, and the cover is pretty cute as well. So next on the list is Pint of No Return. Now this is part of the Dessert Cozy Mystery series, Shake Shop Mysteries series, sorry. There are 3 books currently in this one, and that is by Dana Mentink. So this one says, after her divorce from her thrice married embezzler husband, Trinidad Jones is finally ready for a fresh start. So when she's left one of X's business in Upper Sprocket, Oregon, she decides to pack up her dog, cash in her settlement and open her dream business, the Shimmy and Shake Shop, introducing the world to her monster milkshakes. And even with a couple of sticky situations underway, namely that the other 2 ex-wives also call Sprocket home, Trinidad's life seems to be churning along smoothly. That is, until she discovers her neighbour, the Popcorn King, head down in his giant popcorn kettle. When one of Trinidad's fellow ex-wives is accused of the murder and Upper Sprocket descends into mayhem, it's going to take a supersized scoop of courage to flush out the killer. So, yeah, that sounds a bit different, but a lot of fun. It looks like with the colours, it looks a very springtime read to me. Next is the Book Retreat Mysteries, because, oh, don't you just love books that involve books? There are 9 books in this series so far, and it is by Ellery Adams. The first book in the series is called Murder in the Mystery Suite. And this one says, tucked away in the rolling hills of rural West Virginia is the storybook resort of Storyton Hall, catering to book lovers who want to get away from it all. To increase her number of bookings, resort manager Jane Stewart has decided to host a Murder and Mayhem Week so that fans of the mystery genre can gather together for some role-playing and fantasy crime solving. But when the winner of the scavenger hunt, Felix Hampton, is found dead in the mystery suite and the valuable book he won as his prize is missing, Jane realises one of her guests is an actual murderer. Amid a resort full of fake detectives, Jane is bound and determined to find a real-life killer. There's no room for error as Jane tries to unlock this mystery before another vacancy opens up. So that sounds really, really fun. Wouldn't you love to go to like a book retreat kind of place? I know that there are some dotted around, but yeah, that would be amazing. Not if I got murdered though. I wouldn't like that very much. Next is the Tea Shop Mysteries. Now, if this series is good, there are 29 to get stuck into. It's by Laura Childs, and the first one is called Death by Darjeeling. Okay, so meet Theodosia Browning. What a name. Owner of Charleston's beloved Indigo Tea Shop. Patrons love her blend of delicious tea tastings and southern hospitality, and Theo enjoys the full-bodied flavour of a town steeped in history and mystery. It's tea for 200 or so at the annual Historical Homes Garden Party. Theodosia, as event caterer, is busy serving steaming teas and blackberry scones, while guests sing her praises. But the sweet smell of success turns to suspense when an esteemed guest is found dead, his hand clutching an empty teacup. Trouble is brewing and all eyes are on Theo. Yeah, that sounds so perfect. I love a cup of tea. But yeah, that sounds really, really good. And then the next was one that I saw on one of my fellow booktubers' videos recently. He read it for Garb August, and it is the Vampire Knitting Club. Now, when I looked into this, there's like the Vampire Knitting Club and then there's the Vampire Knitting Club Cornwall, both by the same author, Nancy Warren. So the one that I'm going to show you is, I think it's the original Vampire Knitting Club, and then the Cornwall one was probably like a spin-off of that. And there's 15 books in this series. So, vampires who knit, a troublemaking witch, who killed Granny, and is she really dead? At a crossroads between a cringe-worthy past, Todd the Toad, and an uncertain future, she's not exactly homeless, but it's close, Lucy Swift travels to Oxford to visit her grandmother. With Gran's undying love to count on and Cardinal Wolsey's, Gran's knitting shop, to keep her busy, Lucy can catch her breath and figure out what she's going to do. Except it turns out that Gran is the undying, or at least the undead. But there's a death certificate and a will leaving the knitting shop to Lucy, and a lot of people going in and out who never use the door, including Gran, who is just as loving as ever and prone to knitting sweaters at warp speed late at night. What exactly is going on? When Lucy discovers that Gran did not die peacefully in her sleep but was murdered, she has to bring the killer to justice without tipping off the law that there's no body in the grave. Between a hot 600-year-old vampire and a dishy detective inspector, both of whom always seem to be there for her, Lucy finds her life getting more complicated than a triple cable cardigan. The only one who seems to know what's going on is her cat, or is it her familiar? So that sounds fantastic. I'm quite tempted by that. I'm not buying any, I'm not. But it is free to read on Kindle Unlimited as well, apparently. Or just 77 pence on Kindle. I'm not buying. I'm not. I can't do it. I can't. Okay. Moving on. Next is Nightmare Arizona Paranormal Cozy Mystery Series. There are 8 books in this series and it's by Beth Dolgner. The first one is Homicide at the Haunted House. So this says, divorced, broke and broken down in the old mining town of Nightmare, Arizona, Olivia Kendrick is desperate for a job. At 42 years old, she never thought she would be starting over like this, let alone in a tucked-away town filled with tourists, offbeat residents, and an outspoken UFO hunter. Olivia takes a job at a year-round haunted house, but when she arrives for her first day, she faces real horror. A local man's body has been dumped at the front entrance. Olivia is an immediate suspect. After all, she's a stranger in town. As Olivia tries to find the real killer, she begins to realise her co-workers aren't just putting on a show every night at Nightmare Sanctuary's haunted house. And why does the dog running around have such long fangs? Things only get worse when Damien Shackelford, the son of the haunted house's mystery owner, shows up. He might be handsome, but his arrogant attitude makes everyone miserable. Olivia must forge a new life, solve a murder, and decide who's more of a monster, Damien or the actual monsters she works with. That sounds like it would be a good pick for the spooky season. So if you've read that one, let me know what the series is like, because you know, sometimes you could look at them and it's like, oh, it could go either way. I'm not sure how much I'll love that one, but it could be good. Next then is a secret bookcase mystery series. Again, books about books, love them. And that is by Ellie Alexander. There are 4 books currently in this series, and the first one is The Body in the Bookstore. And it says it's addictively cosy and gripping. So what more do you need? Welcome to the secret bookcase, a quirky bookstore in a grand converted manor house, where the selection of crime fiction is dangerously good. The store has been bookseller and events manager Annie Murray's sanctuary ever since her dreams of starting a detective agency with her best friend died, literally when Scarlett was murdered. Annie has never stopped trying to solve the mystery of her friend's death, but her quiet life in leafy Redwood Grove, with its warm community of like-minded local business owners and book lovers, has provided the solace she needed, until now. When a body is discovered in the bookstore during the town's inaugural Mystery Fest, Anne finds herself catapulted to the centre of real-life whodunit. Dusting off her criminology degree, Annie is determined to put her sleuthing skills to good use and catch the killer before it's too late. So this sounds like it's got the perfect setting, sort of cosy community, beautiful surroundings in this old manor house bookstore. Lovely cover. Yeah, that sounds pretty excellent too. Next then, continuing the sort of bookish theme, we have the Jane Austen Tea Society Mysteries by Katie Oliver. There are 3 books in this series. The first one is Pride, Prejudice and Peril, an Austen expert mystery. Now, I have to be honest, I have heard mixed things about this series, but I love Jane Austen and I love cozies, and so I am still intrigued enough to give it a go. So, this one is about Phaedra Brighton, who is perfectly content with her life of lecturing college students, gossiping with her best friends, and dreaming of Mr. Darcy. As a young, respected, if somewhat peculiar English professor, her expertise lies in all things Jane Austen, but she knows that the closest she'll ever get to being a real-life Elizabeth Bennet is in her dreams. When Who Wants to Marry Mr. Darcy, a new reality TV show, starts filming at her best friend Charlene's estate, Phaedra is intrigued. And when the producer asks her to lend her Austenian knowledge as a consultant on the show, she's over the moon. But on the first day of filming, when Charlene's new husband is found electrocuted and Charlene herself is accused of the crime, Phaedra comes crashing back to reality. With murder on the syllabus and her best friend in dire straits, there's no Mr. Darcy around to help Phaedra. She'll have to get to the bottom of this mystery herself. So like I said, I've heard very mixed things about this series. So if you have dipped your toe into it, I would be really, really intrigued to know what you thought. I think it sounds like it could be quite promising, but we'll see. Next we have the Embroidery mystery series. by Amanda Lee. There are currently 10 books in this series. As I said, I don't know if these series are finished or not, but currently 10 books in this one. And the first one, I love the title, it's The Quicken the Thread. So this one is about Marcy. When Marcy Singer opens an embroidery specialty shop in quaint Tallulah Falls, Oregon, she throws a soiree and a stitch-in. Soon, Marcy's sign-up sheet for embroidery classes fills up and everyone in town seems willing to raise a glass or a needle to support the newly opened 7-year stitch. Then, Marcy finds the shop's previous tenant dead in the storeroom, a message scratched with a tapestry needle on the wall beside him. Now Marcy's shop has become a crime scene and she's the prime suspect. She'll have to find the killer before someone puts a stitch in her. So I don't think I've read any cozies about embroidery. I know there are several. No. I think I've read a crochet one. But, you know, crafts, books and crafts, that's all you need. Books and crafts and murder. And finally then for this video, we have The Haunted Library Mysteries by Allison Brook. There are 8 books in this series, and the first one is called Death Overdue. And I really like the cover of this, and it is so autumnal that, again, I'm very tempted. Very tempted. No. Oh, you guys, you're a bad influence. So, I find all of these from you. So, Carrie Singleton is just about done with Clover Ridge, Connecticut, until she's offered a job as the head of programs and events at the spooky local library, complete with its own librarian ghost. Her first major event is a program presented by retired homicide detective Al Buckley, who claims he knows who murdered Laura Foster, a much-loved part-time library aide who was bludgeoned to death 15 years earlier. As he invites members of the audience to share stories about Laura, he suddenly keels over and dies. The medical examiner reveals that poison is what did him in, and Carrie feels responsible for having surged forward with the programme despite pushback from her director. Driven by guilt, Carrie's determined to discover who murdered the detective, convinced it's the same man who killed Laura all those years ago. Luckily for Carrie, she has a friendly, knowledgeable ghost by her side. But as she questions the shadows surrounding Laura's case, disturbing secrets come to light, and with each step Carrie takes, she gets closer to ending up like Al. Now it's do or die for Carrie in Death Overdue, the delightful first in the new cozy mystery series. Yeah, that sounds very, very fun. And look at the kitty cat in that pumpkin bucket. It is just so cute. So those are the first 10 books on my extensive cozy mystery wish list. There are lots more. There will always be lots more. There are so many cozy series out there that sound fantastic, but I hope that you have found something in here that intrigues you and that you might like to give a go. Let me know if you have any other recommendations for me. Always looking for more stuff to read. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing to my channel for more bookish content. And I'll catch you guys very soon. Bye!